Today we're going to work on a case study called A Trip to the Beach, Untangling the Mystery of Algal Blooms in the Great Lakes. And I love this case study. It's a well put together National Center for Case Study Teaching in Science case study funded by the National Science Foundation, so NSF. Very sound case. Having said that, there's two issues with it. One is if you start flipping through looking at graphs and looking at dates, well, it is not up to date. So here we are today, and it looks like on page 2, and I'm not going to flip there right now with my my pad in front of me here, but it looks like the graph tops off in 2005. Later on, we have some data, and that graph on page 4, the graph there, tops off in 2012. So this is not as current as it could be, but at the same time, I think it does illustrate many good points. The second thing that I kind of hold against this is it is a little bit gimmicky. The story is contrived, but once you get away from that, it kind of puts a nice frame story around things. Makes it a little bit more cohesive. So let's start. Max and Flora are college sophomores studying biology, so we already know that they are very interested in biology. Matt has not been up to his beach cabin for a few years, and things have changed. So when he arrives, there is a bad smell in the air, and there's piles of brown goop. Flora is asking, what is that? It smells horrible. Sewage leak here. I'm not sure, but I don't think we should stick around and find out. When they get back to the cottage, they find out for the past 2 years, they've had a lot of green algae washing up on the beach. And then it rots. That's the problem here. And the end result of this rotting algae is, one, it's unsightly, but two, they're looking at maybe some sort of financial impact here. So the value of their lake property. And if you look at property as a kind of almost a savings account, this could be a problem. So think of maybe back in the 50s or 60s, maybe a grandparent or something along the line invested. They purchased a nice piece of property, and now if they want to, if they needed to, they could sell that house, they could sell that property, and that could be part of their retirement or part of some of their financial stability as they might need it. So one is the value of the property, and this is dependent on tourism. And tourism in Wisconsin is huge, huge. It is $1 billion industry. So we never take this lightly. And remember, tourism just isn't about how beautiful the beach is here. It's also about who eats around this beautiful beach, who lives around this beach, who spends money around it, maybe on recreation, so boating and fishing and lodging. So all these tourism industries, they go away. And when you're living out someplace beautiful and isolated, like this might be, you don't have any other industry to really pull in money, pull in revenue. So all of a sudden you can't live there if you can't make money. So this is actually worth looking into from the financial angle. So Matt wonders, what's going on? Flora, I think we should find out. So they start looking into this just a little bit deeper here because Aunt Janet works in the Department of Natural Resources. So go ahead and check out that website for the DNR. So that's a DNR site. And DNR, there's a lot of state-specific DNR material that includes hiking trails, but also non-native species or native species. So it really is kind of a cool place just to kind of dig around on. Let's hit question number 1. What could have possibly caused a recent increase in the amount of algae washing up on the beach? I'm going to give you a chance to brainstorm, so go ahead and turn this recording off, and then come back when you're ready to hear what answers I have. All right, back again. What could have caused the recent increase in the amount of algae washing up on the beach? Well, the first thing that usually comes to mind is fertilizer runoff. So, fertilizer. And when we're talking about fertilizer, if you read a bag of fertilizer here, a lot of times it's carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus. There's usually a little bit of sulfur going on as well, and a few other things. But C and P is usually the big ones that we look at here. And in terms of algal blooms, nitrogen and phosphorus are usually the two big offenders. So we would question these two. That may have not been your number one, but I've also heard many people come up with temperature. So triangle means delta or change, a change in temperature. Also, how about water movement? So when I talk about water movement, we're talking about flow, or maybe stagnant, and also maybe those tributaries, so smaller runoff areas of water that come in to fill the lake. So here in Lake Onalaska, the portion of the Mississippi that I'm most closely associated with, that can swell or shrink because of the Black River, or because of the snow melt, or late summer when things start to really slow down water-wise, we don't get as much rain maybe. Soon, on the next pages, we'll be continuing our thoughts on this temperature change. And when we talk about temperature change, we could be seeing maybe warmer, or we could be seeing cooler as well. But we'll get to that in the following pages.